Hi there, I am the CRM Ninja, and on today's episode of the Oops Factor, I have Guru Fala. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I have a special guest. It's Leo, my cat. He might just leave
Ah,
us right now, but he might reappear. Who knows?
that's fine. Special guests are always welcome on the show, and he is a very cute cat, I must say.
Absolutely. He's quite cuddly and cute.
Indeed, cats are interesting. Difference between cats and dogs. Dogs think they're man's best friend and do everything that they want, and cats merely tolerate humans at times.
I think there's more to it than that, but it's that's the general gist of it. But it's the cat can be equally happy to see you when you get home. Mine meets
Yes.
me in the door when I get home.
Ah,
Quite nice and quite similar to having a dog. It's just different ways of showing affection.
and probably more hair lying around the place. Dogs don't, I mean, obviously it depends on the breed, but dogs as a rule don't usually shed as much as cats.
No, I've
Right.
had dogs as well, and the breeds I've had don't shed as much, but it's a debate if it's my hair or Leo's hair that's around the floor. So it's here I just blame the cat, as we're almost the same hair color.
It's very useful. It's very useful. Yes, my mother-in-law has a dog, and any smells are blamed on the dog. In 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 admittance, most of the smells are actually from the dog, but occasionally, where there are smells not from the dog can still be blamed.
No, absolutely. The same with cats.
Wonderful things. Now, before I ask you to share your Ooze Factor story, I understand that you have a little collection, and I wanted to ask you about this little collection because I understand that you have a sort of little collection of dresses and you enjoy
I have,
traveling and getting more dresses.
yeah, it's not exactly a little collection, but it's a fair share of dresses, absolutely. I've tried to count, and I promised I would try to have an exact number before today, but I actually didn't manage because some are in storage. But at the moment, I have a room just for dresses, like it's an extra spare bedroom, but I use it for all of my clothes, especially dresses and skirts and jackets, and it's I think came to around 300 dresses.
300
300,
dress.
yeah. It's many years of collecting. I've had some pieces I've had for about 10 years, and primarily the dresses are about 60 years old. So
Ah,
it's a fair good collection of vintage.
so the 1930s then, also, or 1950s?
It's a mix from 1930s until 1960s, primarily.
Wow.
I do have some newer clothes as well, of course. Can't be sitting around my home office all day in a dress from 1930s, but that would be nice as well.
Okay, well, you're almost at one for every single day of the year.
Absolutely, I could do that, and I have tried, but you do get some favorites and things that are more suitable for driving a car or going to work or having client meetings in ball gowns. So sometimes just doesn't feel that appropriate.
I actually read last year, I think it was about a year and a half ago, there's a young man in the UK, and I say young man compared to me because he's in his 20s, but he actually dresses totally in 1920s style.
Mhm.
And he's actually set up a business for it and has international clients around it. He dresses absolutely the part every single day. So, yeah, it's very
It
interesting.
is it is quite the market for it, like internationally. I have friends in the UK that do they sell vintage clothing. They've been doing it for several years, and they're quite successful at it as well. So it's definitely something that people could make a living out of. I
Oh,
just
how
I just
did you get
make their
into
living,
it?
so I'll just buy whatever they're selling.
It's a good symbiotic relationship. They
Yeah, it
sell
is.
and you buy.
It is. And at some
How
point, I could sell back to them, and we just keep the cycle going. Mhm.
good. How did you get into it to start with? Was it something that you've always been interested in had or
Yeah, I think it is actually. I remember bumping into my like primary school teacher at one point, and she mentioned that I've been like always drawing clothes, dresses, whatnot. And for many years, I thought I would end up as a fashion designer, and that was my plan in life. But that event didn't happen. Something else happened, and I ended up in tech, and here we are. I just buy a lot of dresses, and we have. So I have something nice to wear when we do have events again, and
Definitely.
traveling around the world, seeing people at different conferences, etc.
Definitely. Although you're not the only person who likes dresses. Obviously, a lot of people will know of Donna Sakar, who is, has her own fashion line and stuff. Although it's not vintage, but yeah, there are several women who sort of combine the technology and the fashion sense. So
yeah, absolutely. It's quite a lot of us actually. One of my internet friends, she's a sub recruiter in Australia, and she also has like the same type of style and probably the same amount of dresses as well. So it's quite a bunch of us.
wonderful. Really, really interesting. I wasn't aware of it. So from dresses to the Oops Factor, what do you have to share with us today?
It's almost related to dresses actually, but it's and I
Okay.
was thinking to myself, having like an internal monologue on what would actually be a good story as well to tell. And I might even tell you too, but let's start with the first one. It is with traveling internationally and going from conferences and different events. Like we're used at staying at hotels,
Okay.
and you're told that like checkouts at 11, that typically, or 12, that means you can end up like checking physically out at maybe quarter past 11, quarter past 12, and it's fine.
Yeah.
I tried that same strategy in Las Vegas a couple of years ago, and I was saying goodbye to some friends and then going back to my room to get my luggage, standing at my door frantically trying to get it open. My key card had been disabled because it was past 11, and that was the checkout time. And I'd never ever experienced this before. So I was like frantically trying to get into the room, trying to call down to the concierge desk, to the reception, trying to like figure out how to manage this, because my plane was also leaving quite soon, so I had to get to the airport at a certain time. I was able to get someone on the phone, but I had to go downstairs to the reception, stand in a big line, and get help to get activated my key. Of course,
For those who have not been to Las Vegas or hotels in Las Vegas, we're not talking about a little hotel.
No,
Vegas hotels are obviously very, very large with thousands and thousands of rooms.
and
And
many
even though they
many
have large
floors.
receptions, yeah, and
So
lots
I
of
think
floors and lots of lifts or elevators, and
a
yes,
lot of people. So
oh
I
yeah,
think
and
I was
people.
staying at like maybe the sixth or seventh floor. There's of course multiple elevators, but you have to wait for one to come that's going down and not up, etc. And this was at a quite big event as well, so there was a lot of people queuing both to check in and check out. So I think
Right.
I had to stand there for like 20 minutes trying to get like, I really need some help, please, in a nice, friendly manner. And then eventually it was my turn, and I needed ID to prove that that room was my room to get in, and that's kind of difficult when all your stuff is in your hotel room.
So they asked you to provide for ID, but your ID was in the room. Sort of a
Yeah,
catch-22.
it is. So I had to be followed to my room by a guard, or that someone could let me in, because I just needed to collect my belongings. So they had to let me inside the room. I had to like prove who I was and that that room was mine, and then gather all my things, actually then check out and get a taxi so I could get to the airport. And by this had all happened, and I was actually able to check out, I had already lost my plane from Las Vegas to Los Angeles.
Oh
So I was
no.
frantically then trying to call the airline, rebook, etc., because I knew there was a flight later in the evening. I'd check that just to be sure that I didn't have to like rebook something drastically, because then my plane to Norway was like the day after or something from Los Angeles. So it did work out. I did manage to get to the next place the next day, and yeah, just remember to actually check out on time is what I've learned, but also that it doesn't always end bad when you're in Las Vegas, because you can go and gamble, and I won like $150 just sitting there at the slot machine.
Ah,
So I guess it was equal to what I had to pay in like rebooking fees, etc. So it all kind of even out, but it was yeah, heavy stress levels at that a few hours there.
yes, I can
And
imagine.
then
And
of
for
course
those people,
waiting
of
game.
course, and for those people, of course, who travel frequently, of course, hotel membership programs you generally can get even later checkouts nowadays, when
Yeah,
hotels are open. So yeah,
I should have asked for that, because yeah, but I was just being lazy, trying to like get those extra 15 minutes out of the checkout time. This hotel kind of often like charges you for extra laid out checks, but it could be, if you're like a member, you could always get it for free. So it's good to have memberships in those hotel clubs, etc.
wonderful. That's
Yeah.
really good.
So
I
that's
like
my
that.
my most like oops. It's more or less corresponding with like traveling or yeah, dresses.
Indeed. You mentioned a possible second story. Anything you'd like
Yeah,
to share?
it doesn't. It's not something that I've not learned much from this. Oops, the second one, but it's I have a lot of suitcases, because when I travel, I then do buy more things. So maybe like planning that you don't need a full weeks of clothes when you go somewhere, and you have the
You,
habit
you,
of
you just
buying
you just you
equal
buy it
amount.
there.
Yeah, so that's something that I should have learned over the years. I still end up buying a new suitcase on the way back from going places, especially the last time I went to New York was for New York Comic Con. And
Ah,
which was fun, and I did some cosplaying, etc. But I ended up going to wanted to go window shopping, ended up in a wholesale store, and left there with like 6 garbage bags of dresses, because they couldn't just fit in one bag. So it's a
6.
lot of like, yes, it's a lot of volume.
How many suitcases do you have, dare I ask? Ballpark figure. It doesn't need to be exact.
No, yeah, ballpark is probably what it will have to be, but I would say maybe 6 suitcases.
Oh,
Uh,
6 isn't too bad.
No, well, I've thrown also a few away, because when you buy a new suitcase, you can't buy an actually good one, because you just need to have something to take X amount of things with you back home.
Yeah,
So buying like an expensive suitcase is not good for that purpose, and your wallet when you spent it all on dresses. Um,
I
so
guess true.
buying something on the cheaper side, but then it doesn't last you that long.
Gotcha.
Um, the good thing with dresses is that you can fold them up and squeeze a lot of air like off them, so they don't have to take up a lot of space. So
Right.
that's why I only needed like one extra suitcase and maybe like a duffel bag when I went back from New York.
Have you ever been stopped coming back and they've checked through your suitcase and wondered why you may have 3 dozen dresses?
No, I'm very glad I haven't. I think I've dodged a bullet there. So yeah, I've never been stopped, and that's I'm quite happy with, with that. I don't
I'm sure
always
you're
buy
quite happy with it.
dresses, but on a few occasions I have probably bought with me a bit too much back home.
Got it. I know
Yeah.
people who, when they travel, they take their old clothes. So they take regular clothes with them, but they take old clothes
Mm.
that they throw away when they're on holiday. So they go out with full suitcases and old clothes that they're going to get rid of. They put in the suitcases, they take it away with them, they throw away when they're away, and then they've got space to bring things back. And it
That's
also means you
also
don't need to worry about throwing things away at home.
that's also quite a good strategy, as long as you remember to dispose of your clothes in correct manner when you're away as well. You
Yes.
shouldn't throw clothes away in the garbage. You have to recycle. So as long as you have that in mind, I fully support that method. It would have saved me a lot of suitcases.
Suitcases are fun things. I went suitcase shopping a few years back and I did actually buy a set of high end
Yeah,
suitcases because they have a very, very long warranty on them and anything goes wrong, they'll just be replaced. So,
Yeah, absolutely. For my primary suitcase, I do that with. I have a Samsonite one that I am very fond of,
Yes.
and it's excellent quality. So it's worth the money, or it's an investment really, because we've all seen those videos of how people treat the luggage when it's thrown into an airplane or taken off, and it can get quite rough for the suitcases. So having some sturdy suitcases is worth it, I think.
Indeed. Indeed. Well, Guro, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really
My
appreciate your
pleasure.
time and
Likewise.
stories. Viewers, we hope that you've enjoyed listening to this. And if you're interested in vintage dresses, you know who to reach out to for advice on this. You can also subscribe to the channel, take a look at the rest of the Oops Factor videos that are up here, and take a look at my blog. And if you would like to come and share your own story of your own Oops Factor, hit the link below, fill in your information, and I'll get you on the show. Have a great day.